Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Before we get started with the main topic for today, I just want to mention that Chris Lathrop, who's a friend of the podcast, I had mentioned in the podcast earlier today where I was talking about Mick West. He won't. He doesn't have any desire whatsoever to analyze the Las Vegas alien video. Basically showing that he knows that he can't debunk it. That's what it is. But anyway, I was talking about Chris Lathrop. He was the one who had contacted Mick, and he also had contacted Doug Papa, who's the Las Vegas podcaster who was the person who initially broke this Las Vegas alien story. He later went on about a couple months later, I believe, and stated that he thought it was a hoax. Obviously, he was wrong, but it's ironic, isn't it, that Doug Papa is the one who broke the biggest story in the world. This is the biggest story of all time, as I've been pointing out for months now, and and he went on to just say it was a hoax. But hey, you know what? He's going to go down in history. He is going to go down in history. But anyway, I want to point out that at first Doug Papa didn't seem like he wanted to help Chris Lathrop. Chris was asking him for some assistance and what he should do in trying to obtain the certain police video and stuff like that. And Doug Papa has gotten back to him and given him some advice and tips on what to do, on how to get that. There was 14 minutes of police video that was filmed in the backyard of the Kenmores on the night of the incident during the early morning hours of May 1st, 2023. We haven't seen that video. I tried to obtain that video earlier this year, and I was told that I need to get the property owners to provide it, and the property owners weren't the Kenmore family, who do not live there anymore. It was actually somebody else, and they were renting it out to that family, and I needed to get their permission, or they wouldn't release it, and that's the law in Las Vegas. But anyway, Doug Papa has directed Chris on how to get that potentially, and so he's going to try to do it again, and also to get the full 911 call. As we know, the 511 call, the 911 call was. All we have is a segment where Angel was talking to the dispatcher, but there was more to that call. Apparently, the father, Bobby, participated in that 911 call too. So Doug Papa has contacted Chris Lathrop and told him how he can go about trying to obtain those materials. And we'll see how Chris if it works out for him. We'll see. Now, in the other podcast I did recently, called Intelligent Ants from Another World. It sounds like a science fiction movie. Intelligent Ants from Another World. Like a science fiction movie from the 1950s. But that's the reality of the situation. That's I want to talk a little bit more about this whole situation that we're in right now. Now, of course, that podcast, I was discussing this guy who had posted this anonymously on Reddit last year, said he was a molecular biologist, and that he actually did an autopsy on these aliens, and he understood their physiology, and they were very much insect-like. And we've heard this before. We've heard this in different reporting over the years, like for instance in the UFO crash retrievals by Leonard Stringfield, books like that. Some of the people that he had talked to, as well as we heard it from the late Robert Sarbacher, who said that that's what he was told back in the 1950s, that the recovered creatures, these gray alien creatures with the big heads and the big eyes, that they were insect-like. And the reason I was doing this show was because this anonymous source that I have, who was a retired electronics engineer who did work for the government, he believes, after studying that anonymous report that was placed on Reddit last year, he thinks it's the real deal, that this guy actually did do the autopsies. Actually, there was a couple other addendums to that I want to just go over quick before we talk about today's main topic. But anyway, there were some other things he talked about. There was a couple other things that he did not include in his analysis and his summary of what he thinks about this this report from this anonymous person, and he says he's talking about the beings themselves, the Greys. And one of the points that he makes is that these designer worker bees are made with a mix of totally alien DNA and some added sections which enable them to survive on Earth. The added bits are likely from human sources, which would make these creatures some sort of abominations or monsters to a lot of people. Not good. So basically, yeah, and I did touch on that in that episode where basically one of the theories from David M. Jacobs, who hypnotized over 1,000 people in his research on alien abductions, and he's written about it in his books like this, Walking Among Us, as well as The Threat, like he thinks that the Greys were manufactured, that they're just something that were put together by the insectoid creatures, the ones who seem to be in charge, the ones that look like praying mantises, the ones that could be similar to our ant life right here on Earth. Of course, more obviously more evolved and similar though to ants. This is all hype. This is all theory and hypothesis. We don't really know, speculation, but. Yeah, so that could be the case, right? That the Greys are basically half human, half insectoid, and they're just made to do a specific job, and they're just disposable. And that was another point here. He says the lifespan is short. Yeah, the lifespan of the Greys is short. They are the product of a sort of instant worker bee recipe, quick, cheap, and easy to produce, but with no durability. For example, they have no immune system and would naturally suffer serious problems within a few years of operation in the Earth's environment. This has advantages to their manipulative overlords. They don't live long enough to become self-aware or question the motives of their superiors. Yeah, they're basically, and this is something that Dr. Gary Nolan had pointed out a few times. He calls them biological robots. And then finally, the last point here is the final statement. They require, this is from the autopsy report that was filed anonymously on Reddit, where the guys, that molecular biologists, stated they require extensive biological support. And according to my source, in fact, that means is that they must return to a nutrient tank every few hours to cleanse and rejuvenate themselves. And this analysis of their metabolic process clearly indicates that the nutrient solution is refined from the blood that they collect. Yes. My source, the retired electronics engineer, he believes that these things are basically surviving on blood, and that explains the cattle mutilations. It all makes sense when you really sit down and think about it. And these are the things that we really don't talk about a lot in the UFO community for the most part. I mean, some of us do, but a lot of us seem to be focused these days on the government cover-up, and we're trying to cause disclosure. And we have whistleblowers like David Grush, and we have people like Lou Elizondo telling all in his new book Imminent, which is excellent, by the way. If you haven't read it yet, I highly recommend it. So you have that, but basically, and what a lot of people are talking about though is that these UFOs could cause danger to our aircraft in the sky. That's the concern. Or if you get close to one, it could cause damage to your body. These are the concerns that seems like we've been focusing on, and the fact that there's this secret crash retrieval and reverse engineering program ongoing for decades. That's what we're focused on. But now that we have the evidence in our grasp, I mean, as I've been talking about here on the show for months and months and months now. Now that we have the proof, right? And maybe just before I even get into that, I've always known, right? I've known for a long time because I saw one of these things, my own, I experienced one of these creatures. I had encountered one of these things. So I've known for a long time, right? I've known since the late 1970s, right? That this is real, that there's something going on. Well, actually, I didn't know that it was alien at the time. It took me like 10 years or so, give or take, before I realized what it was. But I've known for a long time. And then I saw a UFO up close and personal, along with another witness back in the 1994. So I know, right? I've known for a long time. It's the thing is, as a lot of people who experience these things, right, UFOs and or the occupants, as a lot of us know, it's hard to prove it. I mean, we've even physical trace evidence, that landing marks, things like that. That's not good enough. Even the objects removed from people, implants. Dr. Roger Lear removed implants. There was that excellent documentary from Jeremy Corbell, where patient 17 or patient 19, I can't think of it off the top of my head right now, but I love that documentary. Obviously there's something going on here, and they're up to something. And there's all the research by Linda Moulton Howe with regard to the cattle mutilations. It's right there in front of our faces, right? They're living off they're draining the cows of their blood. They're taking some of their body parts. They're using it for food. They're using it for food to feed to provide nutrition to themselves and their workforce, the little grays. That's what they're doing. That's what it's all about. That's what it seems like. I mean, of course, I can't prove that, but here's one thing I can prove, right? One thing we could prove, all of us could prove right now. We could look at that Las Vegas video, and the gang's all there. The gang is all there. All these creatures that people have been talking about over the decades. You see them in that video. They're there. So this is what we need to be talking about. This is what affects us more than anything, more than concerns about crashing into one in the sky, more than any of that, right? The biggest issue here is, what are they up to? And if Jacobs is correct, right, that means they're up to no good. And here's the thing, somebody needs to be talking about this. This is what we need to be talking. This is the biggest thing that we need to be talking about more than anything else, is about what are they doing here? What are they up to? What are they trying to do? I mean, of course, it's been suggested that they're here to basically take us over, absorb humankind through this hybridization program. Is that what's going on? I don't like that concept. I mean, but that's the one person who really dug deep into this and came to some conclusions after he was done his research. That's what he concluded. So this is what we need to be talking about, and unfortunately, we seem to be too focused on the government cover-up. Obviously, they're covering it up. Obviously. I've talked numerous times on this show, all the research done by people who investigated Roswell, particularly people like Donald Schmidt, Thomas Carey, Kevin Randall, Stanton Friedman, right? People like that have investigated that case for decades. Interviewed hundreds of people. Obviously, there was all these different. There were too many witnesses, right? Too many witnesses. That happened at a time before there was they had any kind of program in place. Obviously, where they had teams that already knew what they were doing when they went in. They were just working with what they had at that time. That's why Roswell eventually leaked in the late 1970s when Jesse Marcel Sr. finally stepped into the scene. So we already know this. We already know it. Right? The government's been lying about it for decades, because what are they going to tell you? They didn't know what else to tell you. They won't even respond. I've sent them that letter back in June 11th. They're not going to respond to that. How could they? What are they going to say? They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be the ones to tell you. But here's the thing. You need to know. Everyone needs to know that this is what the reality is. The reality is that there's some sort of an alien presence here, and we have no idea what they're up to. It could be no good. It could be, maybe it is good. Maybe they're trying to warn us of something, like some people say, but I don't know that. I don't know how anybody could know that. I just don't know how anybody could know that. And the issue that I have, and I've stated this in another podcast just recently. The problem is nobody's acknowledging it, right? Like some people are, of course, the people in the UFO community, a lot of us. But if you can't acknowledge reality, how are you going to understand it? You saw what happens with people like the debunkers, like Mick West. You saw what happens. You say, hey, look, why don't you look at this? You want to try to get people in on this who don't believe it, because you want to try to show them, but they're just ignoring it. They won't even look at it. No. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. No. Don't show me that. No, I don't want to analyze it. It's a waste of time. It's the best evidence we ever had. We've never had anything better than this. Nothing. Like I've said that too recently. But this is what we need to be talking about. They're here. We know it now. So now we need to try to understand what's going on here. What are they up to, right? Like Scott Roeder said when we did the Vindication Day video, he stated, the next question is, who are they? What do they want? And where do they come from? That's basically it. We need to talk about those questions, and we're still not talking about it. But somebody needs to be talking about this, not just me. There needs to be a whole bunch of people talking about this. And there's other people in the UFO community that look at this situation a little bit more positively. And that's fine, but the bottom line is I hope it's that. I hope it's positive too, but I don't know that. I don't know if they're here to help us or here to screw us over. I just don't know. It doesn't based on the abduction reports, that's not a nice thing that happens to people. Now, some people will say, well, they have positive experiences all the time, every time they get abducted. Now, how do we know that they are positive experiences? How do they know that they're positive experiences? Based on all of the research by abduction researchers, when they find out that these people were given screen memories, they think they just saw a deer out in the yard or an owl in a tree, and then when they go under hypnosis, they find out, no, it wasn't any of that. It was a gray alien or a mantis staring them in the eyes during a mind scan, right? And they inserted screen memories in their head so they thought it was something else that they saw. Or maybe doesn't that mean that they could be doing the same thing to these other people who think that they have positive experiences? Doesn't that mean that that's what could be happening, that they're putting screen memories in their head to think that everything's like all cups and cakes, right? When they get taken against their will? And after a couple of times getting taken against their will, they go willingly because they think they're having a good time. But who knows? They could be laying on some sort of a table, having some sort of a procedure done on them, and having sperm removed from them or eggs removed from them. Something like that could be happening. But meanwhile, there's a mantis looking to stare them in the face, making them think that they're on some other planet somewhere, looking at something beautiful. I mean, how do they know they're having a good old time? How do they know they're flying around, really flying a spaceship? How do they know these things? How do they know for sure? When you find out, when you read about what happens to people who get abducted and the telepathic abilities these creatures have, and the ability to make people think things that aren't real. Sometimes they're able to replace the reality of what's happening to them with other things. So, we need to talk about this part of it. Yeah, there's big concerns about, that a jet airliner might crash into a UFO because, if we don't figure this out. There's a lot of concerns with that. Hey, if you find a landed one and you get too close of it, you might end up with radiation burns or who knows, Havana syndrome or something, right? There's all these bad things that could happen getting close to UFOs, but it's much, 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 much more deeper than just that. What are the beings doing to us? That's what we need to be talking about. That's where the rubber hits the road. That's the biggest issue, and that's where we need to be, not on this other stuff. I think that needs to be made clear. That's the biggest issue I have. I mean, my memory of what happened, I don't know. For all I know, stuff might have been happening to me my entire life, and I just don't have any recollection of it. But I know one thing: there was most certainly some sort of a non-human intelligent creature in my bedroom when I was a little kid back in 1977. Right? I know that for a fact because I understand that there's no way that could have been a dream or anything like that. It was something that lasted for 20 minutes. There was no way. So I know this, and you read all the other reports, all the other stories, Ariel School, those kids, there's no question that something happened there, right? How come we're pretending? How come we keep, no, I don't want to look at that. Oh, you know what it might have been? It might have been a puppet show that somebody put on for them. How come we're playing these stupid games? How come some of us are acting so stupid about this? I don't understand it. It's pompous, it's idiotic. I don't get it. And we need to be talking about what I'm talking about right here. What are they doing to us? That's the biggest issue here. Yeah, there could be a crash, right? They could cause harm in the skies to us if we're not careful. If they're not careful, of course that's problematic. Of course it is. However, what's bigger issue for me is what these creatures are doing, and somebody needs to be talking about this, and not enough of us are. That's the issue here. Not enough of us are. We talk about, I love talking about some of the stories all the time. All these different encounters with aliens, all these different stories about alleged crashes. That's all fun and interesting to talk about. But the bottom line is, I want to know what the hell's going on here, and I think everybody in this whole world should want to know what the hell's going on here. Obviously, the government, you could actually, in a way, you understand why they don't want to talk about it. They don't even know where to begin, probably. Because they know the second disclosure happens, it's going to go directly to this. And all this nonsense, I'll tell you what, this catastrophic disclosure, where you could take that and shove it. It's nonsense. It's one way or the other. It doesn't matter, right? If you slowly leak it out, that's not going to make a difference. What kind of difference is that going to make? The second the whole world understands the truth, right, there's going to be a reaction. Whether we don't really know what it's going to be, I've seen some people react. Right, some people who didn't believe this before, I've seen their reactions, and they've moved on with their lives like nothing was going on. It's like, okay, well, I guess there's aliens here, and there's nothing we can do about it. So I don't know. Screw the catastrophic disclosure nonsense, because you know what? I don't buy that anymore. I mean, to me, that's just words. That's all that is. I mean, I believe Richard Dolan mentioned something like this to this effect. Once you get across a certain line, people are going to be asking questions, and they're going to be, one of the questions they're going to be asking is so that means abductions are real? That's going to be one of the things. And they're going to start, some people are going to, who never thought about this before, are going to start buying books like Communion. So I just think this is what we need. Somebody needs to be talking about this. Somebody needs to be talking about the Vegas stuff, because the Vegas stuff proves it. It proves it. The gang was all there. You saw the little gray. You see the one that's standing by the front loader that looks just like, when you put them up side by side. I've been showing that picture, right? The side by side, just like one of those insect creatures that abducted the Allagash 4 back in '76. It looks just like it, right? And so that's it. There's the proof that corroborates all these stories. That means all these stories. There you go. You wanted proof? There you go. All these debunkers crying for decades. Oh, there's never no proof. Never no proof. You see these sourpusses on documentaries. These sourpusses like Joe Nickel and James Magaha, right, over the years on CNN and stuff. They have no proof. They have no proof. Well, here's the proof, and you know where to put it. Now shut up. We have the proof now. What are we doing? Why are we talking about this? Why isn't everybody talking about it? It's over. Just like Scott Roeder. We talked about this earlier this year. The proof, we have the proof now. So okay, how come we're not? Nothing's happening. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody in the UFO community is talking about it. Somebody needs to talk about it. This is the part, because this is why. Because they're concerned. They don't want to talk about it because they're concerned about what the reaction of the world's going to be when they find out. Well, you know what? I don't think the world, we've been around up until this point, and people have gotten abducted. Some people, the people who it's happening to, how's it going to affect them? They're going to be, oh, thank God, everyone believes me now. Everyone's going to believe me now. That's what's going to happen with them. The rest of the people are going to be, some people will just be fascinated. Some people will be scared for a couple of days. It might take them a week to get over it, but everyone will get over it. We're tough. We could deal with it. The world could deal with it. This is what we need to be talking about, folks. This is the biggest, this is my biggest concern. This is the biggest issue. What are they doing to us? Why are they here? They've been here a long time. Now we see the same creatures that were in that backyard. They look like the same creatures that Whitley Strieber was talking about. They look like the same creatures that the Allagash 4 were talking about, among others. So that's where I just wanted to say today. This is something we need to be talking about on a regular basis. This is the most critical aspect of this whole phenomenon, and more people need to be focused on this part of it. Now you see it. There's no excuse anymore. No excuse. There's absolutely no excuse. You'll never debunk that video. It can't be debunked because it was real. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. It's going to be a shorter show today. I just wanted to get that out of my system. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me. Until next time.